Yo, what's good YouTube? Zamcro here, aka Scoot, back with the International Draft Masters Season 2, week number 10, and we're taking on the Confusion, aka David, coach of the Miami Heatwaves. He is the founder of the Universal Analyst League, the UAL. I've uploaded 2 seasons of that, and he is the GBA Weekly Recap host, as well as being a friend of mine who I met in Miguel, aka Mega Magua, his front office back in the GBA season 5 or 6 or something like that, in the UCL season 2 or something. Anyways, the Confusion's a great battler. He's very innovative, very creative player. He's worked in other GBA coaches' front offices as well. So I know he's a pretty solid player. I've played against him multiple times. I've seen him dominate the UAL. I've seen him use innovative sets with Pokemon like Smeargle and things like that, and seen him use his team that he has here very well. I've noticed something he likes to do in some of his drafts. He likes to double up on some weather. He did that in this draft league as well, or in this season as well. He did pretty well last season. If I recall correctly, he had a pretty good record last season. And the International Draft Masters is one of my favorite leagues so far. After 2 seasons, definitely we've had some fun competition and whatnot. And the Confusion, he's brought it as well. He's brought some very interesting sets, and he's been dominating this season as well. He is, I think, 8-1, 8-1, 7-1, something like that, going into this match. If it's week 10, he is. What is it? 7-1 going into week 10. Eight, 7-2 going into week 10. He's 7-2 going into week 10, coming off of a loss to the number 1 team, and now looking to bounce back against us, and then finish out the season with some wins. Lots of coaches trying to get those top 2 spots and grab a bye, and yeah, so are we. So let's try to do that here. Try to finish out the season and potentially go 9-2. We are 7-2 at this moment, and yeah, we're both looking for our 8th win here. So the Confusion has Mega Latios, Klefki, Blacephalon, Excadrill, Rotom-Mow, Heracross, Zoroark, Hippowdon, Kabutops, Politoed, and the Swellow. As you can see, he's drafted double weather. He's got the same core with Hippo and Excadrill, and he's got the rain with Politoed and Kabutops, as well as having like Rotom-Mow being able to spam Thunder. If it gets Thunder, I'm not even sure it does. And things like Swellow being able to run instead of just running Boom Burst, it can now spam Hurricane in the rain as well, so that's pretty dope. Heracross has helped. Klefki and Excadrill are helped in the rain by their fire type weakness being, lessened. I guess I could say that. And then his rain doesn't really affect his sand, because once Hippo comes in, the sand is going to be put up, so there's not going to be like a water boosted attack hitting the Hippo or anything like that. He can definitely abuse Sand Rush and Swift Swim. Definitely can do that. He has some other threats though outside of weather, like Blacephalon, Mega Latios, Zoroark, Heracross, and the Swellow. And then he's got things like Klefki, Hippo, Politoed that are a little bit more passive but still are threatening in their own way, as in Hippo being very hard to kill, Politoed being a nuisance with like Hypnosis or Rest, Encore, things like that. Klefki setting up spikes and being like a Magnet Rise set's actually pretty problematic versus my team. I have Mamoswine and Garchomp. I have Volcarona, but I'm actually not bringing it. As you can see on screen, I'm bringing the Tapu Koko, the Hoopa Unbound, Bronzong, Serena, Mandibuzz, and the Mega Garchomp. So no Volcarona and no Mamoswine this week. A couple of threats I felt like, while they were huge threats, they were also some liabilities to the team, and I didn't necessarily want to bring them in this matchup. And I stand by exactly what I bring, actually, 100% still. So my opponent has Megalodios, which is a huge threat in the draft format, being, you know, not as bulky as Megalodius, but still very bulky, still very powerful, very speedy, awesome typing. Same for Klefki, very awesome typing, and has great utility with Prankster and having those status moves like, Spikes and Thunder Wave, Toxic, etc. Switcheroo even. So yeah, lots of things like that. Blacephalon can also be like a trick variant with like Choice Specs or Choice Scarf, and trick 3 attacks or 2 attacks trick, and something like Destiny Bond, or I think it gets Destiny Bond. Don't quote me on that. And then it could have something like Will-O-Wisp to catch Hoopo or Amanda Buzz or something like that on the switch in. So Excadrill is a huge problem, like a Life Orb, Sand Rush Excadrill. If it has the right amount of sand left and sets up a Swords Dance or something like that, it could be so problematic for any team really. Same thing for Kabutops. If Rain's up and it sets up a Swords Dance, it could be problematic. Rotom Mow, I don't see as too big of an issue to my team. Just naturally, like I guess it checks Seismitoad pretty well, but first of all, I'm not even bringing Seismitoad, and secondly, it doesn't fare too well against the rest of my team. It's an okay bring still because it can switch in on Earthquakes from Mini Hippo and Mega Garchomp and Seismitoad and even Mamoswine, but doesn't want to take an Ice Crash. But he could pivot out into like Klefki and then do the Magnet Rise or something like that, or like an Air Balloon variant of Excadrill or Klefki even. Yeah, just all kinds of different things that my opponent could bring. Choice Scarf Heracross, Guts Flame Orb Heracross or something like that. The Illusion Zoroark could be problematic if he brings it and decides to try to trick me with some like wacky leads or like a Stealth Rock or a Spike option lead, and I get caught off guard and get bopped early by like a turn 1 tech or something like that with the Zoroark. That could be problematic. And then letting Hippowdon and Politoed rest up or slack off or anything like that, as well as just switching around constantly and getting the rain up, getting the sand up back and forth, and putting himself in a good position. That can be problematic for myself, so I'd like to limit that as much as possible. So like Rapid Spin on my side and Stealth Rocks on, setting Stealth Rocks up from my side to his side is in my best interest early. Like I need that early to really beat down his switches and take advantage of that myself. And then last but not least, he has the Swellow, which is a huge threat, but I do have things like Bronzong and Mandibuzz, which can eat hits on the special side for days, and I don't have to really worry about it that much. So I guess we can hop into the team builder now. We're going to be bringing a Tapu Koko here. We got the Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, and U-Turn. We're rocking a Choice Scarf with enough speed. We're sitting at 381 speed. This allows us to outspeed Kabutops in the rain. Allows us to outspeed Adamant Excadrill in the rain unless he's like max speed. And which I don't really necessarily expect unless he predicts like a Choice Scarf Koko and he wants to outspeed me. So that's that. So long as the Excadrill and Hippo are around, I'm mostly going to be clicking U-Turn or Dazzling Gleam. But once those Pokemon go down, like I mentioned, once Hippo goes down, once what was it called? The Hippowdon, and Excadrill. Once Hippowdon and Excadrill go down, I can pretty much spam Thunderbolt. Like, it's not going to be doing much to Rotom Mow, but it's going to be, every time it's going to take rocks damage, it's going to take Thunderbolt damage and not switch out and force him to heal up or force him to, Bolt Switch out or potentially have to stay in and defog or something, and I can get some chip damage off on it with something else as well, and we can Rotom and then put Koko in a really, really solid position to spam Choice Scarf, Thunderbolt, or Volt Switch late game. and put myself in a position to where I can spam late game Dazzling Gleam if the clef key is gone. Blacephalon's not really going to be wanting to take a Dazzling Gleam after Stealth Rocks. Its defenses are really, really weak. So, like, I could potentially catch a Kabutops off guard in the rain with a Choice Scarf Volt Switch and be able to bop it there. That would be nice. This also checks. I don't really necessarily, like, if Swellow comes, I don't necessarily expect it to be max speed. Maybe enough speed to outpace base 100s and run like a Modest Nature or an Adamant Nature, depending on if it's a Guts variant or like a Scrappy Boom Bursting variant. Depending on, if it's going to be Modest or Adamant. Either way, I don't expect it to be max speed. I expect my Coco set to be able to outspeed it and bop it with the Volt Switch or Thunderbolt. And after 2 rounds of rocks, I'm pretty sure Dazzling Gleam knocks it out as well. So I think that's pretty dope. So yeah, this thing is just like a safety net versus the the weather boosted speed. I guess Choice Scarf Blacephalon, that's a thing. Choice Scarf Heracross is a thing. And Zoroark, I outpace all those and I'll bop them all. Zoroark and Heracross drop into the Dazzling Gleam. Blacephalon after rocks drops to a Electric Surge boosted Thunderbolt. So yeah, not bad at all. I do need to weaken Excadrill and Hippo, like I mentioned, and I can just constantly U-turn on those until they're weakened enough. I do have Serena, Garchomp, and Mandibuzz to try to take advantage of his Sancor. So I guess that's all there really is to say about that. I guess next up we can talk about our Hoopa Unbound. We have a Life Orb substitute variant with 3 attacks. We have the Hyperspace Hole and the Zen Headbutt and the Fire Punch. We have an Adamant Natured Zen Headbutt and Fire Punch, and then the Adamant Nature Hyperspace Hole. That's actually supposed to be Hyperspace Fury. I accidentally didn't check over my team, after I built it or before the match, and when I typed Hyperspace, I guess Hole was the first one, and I clicked it instead of Fury. Big mistake on my part, but I don't know if it actually plays a part in the match. But yeah, it's still pretty powerful, and it still bops some things like the Blacephalon, and I guess it don't really bop anything. Heracross, I guess, Life Orb, Hyperspace Hole is going to still take out a Heracross despite my minus special attack nature. But yeah, it's definitely supposed to be Hyperspace Fury, Zen Headbutt, and Fire Punch. And the idea is to be able to set up a sub. Since I'm a Dark type, Clef Key can't use its Prankster ability on me with Thunder Wave or Toxic or Switcheroo or anything like that. And I will be able to sub up first and prevent any kind of Prankster shenanigans. And then I'm a Life Orb variant. Adamant Max Attack, Fire Punch, 2-hit KOs, Clef Key, Hyperspace Hole, and Hyperspace Fury and Zen Headbutt was supposed to run through my opponent's team, but I didn't actually bring Hyperspace Fury. Zoroark is an exception. It resists Hyperspace Fury and is immune to Zen Headbutt, but it's a Zoroark. It's not really wanting to take Life Orb Fire Punch from a Hoopa Unbound. But yeah, this is the set, and the idea was to maybe sub up on a Hippo or a Forced Switch or something like that. Maybe he needs to, maybe he's a Blacephalon locked into Shadow Ball or something like that. I can come in, I can set up a substitute as he switches out, have a sub up, and then start clicking Hyperspace Furies and Headbutt, Fire Punch. Now, it could potentially be to the point where all of my opponent's defensive mons are weakened enough to where Hyperspace Fury or Zen Headbutt would be able to pick him off, so that I would be able to keep my sub up as he switches out, but ends up only being able to sack something, has to bring something else in to break my sub, and ends up losing that as well. And then he ends up losing 2 mons just to break my sub, and then he can finally revenge kill me. And at that point, Hoopa's already did enough damage and can go away. I am running max speed. This allows me to outpace some of his things that could potentially be max speed outside of rain and sand, such as Kabutops and Excadrill, obviously. I don't bring any Salic Berry or anything like that, no Lychee Berry, nothing, nothing weird. I needed a life orb extra damage to break through things like Hippo and Klefki. So there's that. And yeah, that's just the idea. If I lose my item, I could potentially get an item back with Magician, so that's pretty dope. Even though, like, I see myself losing my item to maybe like a Choice Scarf, knockoff Heracross, or Zoroark, in which I'm most likely not going to be living those physical attacks anyway. So we're going to be moving on to our next Pokemon. We have Bronzong here with a little innovation. We have a Toxic variant, so we can throw off Toxics versus things like Hippo, Heracross, Rotom-Mow, Politoed even. Throw off the Flash Cannons, mostly. And then we got the Ghostium Z Shadow Ball. Modest, max, well, we're not modest, I think it's Quiet Nature, max special attack, max HP. So, just a weird Bronzong set. Not too much thought behind this, really. We can take... The idea was to switch in on a Mega Latios and be able to eat up Shadow Balls, and then hit back really hard with the Ghostium Z Shadow Ball, or maybe catch something like the Hippo on a switch in or something that takes like a Flash Cannon and that can't survive the Ghostium Z Shadow Ball or something like that if it's weakened enough. But this was more trying to scramble his mind more so than trying to pick up a kill or wall anything or anything like that. And it could potentially set up late game Trick Room for my Mega Garchomp, which would be pretty cool. But outside of that, this thing really didn't have real value or merit or anything like that. Specifically, I just thought it was something that I wanted to bring. I thought it was a little bit cool and was a semi-check to things like Excadrill, Klefki, Mega Latios, and things like that. So that's only the only real reason I brought it. Like I felt like if I was matched up against Hippo, Excadrill, and Swellow, and it was Bronzong, Serena, and Garchomp, I could bring this thing in, take a hit, set up Trick Room as I sack this thing, bring in Mega Garchomp behind the Trick Room, and then Swellow and Excadrill are going to be O-code in the sand, and then also Hippo is going to be 2-hit KO'd in sand as well, so that's pretty cool. But that was the idea behind that. But anyways, next we have Serena, which is our Leftovers variant. Rapid Spinner, designated Rapid Spinner, and switch into things like Hippo, switch into Kabutops, Politoed, Rotom-Mow, Excadrill, basically everything that's not Blacephalon or Swellow, and I guess Heracross. And I force all kinds of switches. I can U-turn out on everything, basically. Like, they have to switch out. Almost everything that I just mentioned has to switch out, or they're going to drop to a Trop Kick, or they're going to put themselves in a vulnerable position to Trop Kick, and then I can Synthesis up, I can Rapid Spin, I can U-turn out the following turn and gain momentum that way. I can live hits from Excadrill and Kabutops specifically, but those two Pokemon are also my opponent's Z-move users. So if he's like Z Aerial Ace or Z X-Scissor on Kabutops or Excadrill, Excadrill getting both of those moves and Kabutops getting, I think, only the Aerial Ace. Both of which could be huge threats. I do live those hits. However, if he's like Life Orb, I mean, obviously he can't beat Life Orb and a Z move. But if he's like a Swords Dancing variant and he's at +2 and he goes for a Z move, it could be problematic, and I need to scout for that. So that's the idea behind that. And yeah, basically the idea is to keep rocks off the field, make sure that Mandibuzz and Garchomp, Hoopa Unbound, and Tapu Koko can do their job effectively. And I really rely on Serena to do that. It can, it doesn't necessarily take advantage of, but it can deter my opponent from bringing, Politoed or Hippowdon or something like that. And then maybe I don't have to worry about his Weather Sweepers as much as I thought I did. Anyways, next up we have Mandibuzz, which is our Leftovers variant Overcoat, so that we are not bothered by sand. We can taunt the Hippowdon, we can taunt the Klefki. We are a dark type, so we are not affected by that. Prankster, obviously, like things like spikes and stuff will still go up first, but he can't Thunder Wave us or poison us or anything like that. We can U-turn out, we can foul play. Roost and taunt is pretty nice, and this thing can take hits from Blacephalon and Mega Latios for days, can take hits from Rotom Cut and Zoroark for days, but it doesn't necessarily want in any shape or form to come in on a Rotom Cut or a Blacephalon and get tricked a Choice Scarf or Choice Specs or a Choice Band, or even some weird tech item like a Iron Ball or a Wagon Tail or something that would a Poison Orb or a Toxic Orb or whatever it's called, or anything like that. I don't want to come in and be tricked in the item. Otherwise, though, I am a specially defensive wall. I can take hits all day. That's another thing about Serena is I'm max physically defensive, max HP, and then same thing for Mandibuzz, max specially defensive, max HP. And this, like, isn't necessarily, I guess it's semi-lazy calcs, but I knew it was going to be close to this anyway, so I just went ahead and went max on both. I don't think it necessarily matters, and that's my reasoning behind it. Nothing else really. Risk for longevity here on the Mandibuzz, and then we got the foul play. Gonna be playing a little bit foul today, and got the U-turn for momentum. Same thing for Hoopa. Same thing for Serena. Got the U-turn. So nice slow U-turns there into things like Hoopa Unbound can really break my opponent's team. Can also bring in my Mega Garchomp here, which is my Stealth Rock, my designated Stealth Rocker. I got the Sand Force boosted Earthquake if he decides to bring Sand, and I got the Dragon Claw as well, so that I can hit things that aren't necessarily hit by Earthquake that hard, like Swellow, which is immune, and Heracross, which resist, and Megalodios, which is obviously weak to Dragon Claw. Then I got the Roar there, because if Blacephalon gets the +1, not if I have to sack something or he just picks up a surprise kill, I'm gonna be able to live any one hit besides like a Life Orb, Hidden Power Ice, and I potentially live that as well. However, if he's like I already got a Beast Bridge or something, then that's just a wrap, I guess. But yeah, I can roar him out, and roar is actually nice for like a Magnet Rise Klefki, Beast boosting Blacephalon, Swords Dance and Excadrill, same thing for Swords Dance and Heracross, or Kabutops. I can just roar those things out, prevent those from being a huge threat. If anything weird wants to get behind the sub, I can roar those out as well. If my opponent wants to, say it comes down to last Pokemon, say he's got 3 Pokemon left and he's trying to get the Sand up as well as sacking Hippo on the same turn, then I can foresee his switch out into Hippo. I can click Roar to where he has to bring in the Hippo again, and at that point I'm conditioned to know that he's going to go out into the Hippo, so I'm going to be able to bop it a little bit harder with something like Earthquake or Dragon Claw, or potentially make a double out into something of my own to take advantage of the Hippo, if that is his switch in, of course. But yeah, that's going to be the team, and we can hop into the replay, and we'll be right back with that. Alright, so here we are with the replay, and my opponent chooses to bring the Heracross, the Excadrill, the Hippowdon, Kabutops, Blacephalon, and the Klefki. So no Politoed, no Rain, no Swellow, no Megalodios either, so that's pretty nice. No Illusion Mind Games with the Zoroark, and no Rotom Cut, so pretty nice matchup here. I feel pretty confident going into this match, especially seeing the team preview here. I feel like Garchomp actually has a solid matchup, like a super nice matchup. Just clicking Earthquake, spamming Earthquake in this matchup. My opponent doesn't have a switch in to Earthquake, and it really leaves me to leaves me to bleed that the Klefki has Magnet Rise on it. It certainly has to. Heracross being his only switch into Earthquake isn't that reliable, especially since I'm Mega Garchomp, meaning I can click Earthquake into like Dragon Claw with a very high base attack at, I think like 175 or something like that. We have what's the word? We don't have the best switch into Heracross in this matchup, but it doesn't necessarily switch into us either. And we have Choice Scarf Coco to like revenge kill it always, basically. He has 3 potential rockers, so definitely have to scout, see which one's going to be rocking. More than likely going to be the Hippo, but could potentially be the Kabutops, and freeze up Hippo to be more flexible offensively and defensively. So it can have something like Whirlwind, Slack Off, Earthquake, and maybe like Crunch or something for the Bronzong, or like Ice Fang for the Mega Garchomp and Mandibuzz. It could also have Toxic as well, and I think Excadrill and Kabutops could be more offensive, or Kabutops could be like a Stealth Rocker and a Rapid Spinner with like Dual Stab or something like that, like Stone Edge and Aqua Jet, or something like Knockoff and Aerial Ace even. Blacephalon looking very powerful. The spamming, like it can't really spam any specific attack. I do have Mandibuzz and Hoopo, which resist Shadow Ball, and I have Garchomp, which resists the Flamethrower or Fire Blast, or anything like that. And Mandibuzz eats fire type attacks. I mean, it eats Blacephalon's attacks pretty much all day, every day anyway. So no big deal there. Yeah, feel pretty confident here at Team Preview. And I felt like leading off with Mandibuzz was a fine lead for me. I felt like Klefki was a likely lead for my opponent. And I really did feel like he was a Magnet Rise variant, so I didn't lead with my Garchomp. Had my opponent brought something like Rotom-Mow or even Mega Latios or Swellow, to something else to switch into the Mega Garchomp, I would have more than likely have led Mega Garchomp, with the idea thinking that Klefki is less likely to have the Magnet Rise move. So that's the reason I didn't lead with Garchomp, was I felt like he would lead with the Klefki and he would have Magnet Rise, and then I could potentially get my rocks up, but he would be in a position to get maybe 2 layers of spikes up as I switch out into something, and then he switches out into something and gets his rocks up as well. So then he would have, 2 layers of rocks, or 2 layers of spikes and a layer of rocks up to just my 1 layer of rocks. So that would be very bad, just very bad for me, and that's not something I want. So he leads with the Blacephalon, and right here I could stay in and click Knockoff. I could actually click U-turn, predicting my opponent to switch out. Actually, I have Foul Play, not Knockoff, so I could click Foul Play here and knock out the Blacephalon. Foul Play also gets quite a bit of damage off on everything else outside of Klefki, so that's a very likely play here I could click. But he could be Trick, and if he's Choice Scarf or Choice Specs and he tricks me that one of those items, my Mandibuzz essentially becomes useless the rest of the match, having to always lock myself into a move like U-turn, Foul Play, Roost, or Taunt. And I don't want to do that all match. And my Garchomp is my designated switch in to Blacephalon because it cannot be tricked. So that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to scout out and see if it has the trick. And I'm going to go into my Mega Garchomp here. And he's going to go into his Klefki and reveal the Magnet Rise as I set up my Stealth Rocks. So now I'm going to switch out into my Mandibuzz as he goes for the Light Screen. And here he sets up a layer of spikes as I taunt him. Nice to be able to taunt him there. And I'm going to U-turn out, not wanting to take like a Dazzling Gleam or anything like that. And he does reveal the Dazzling Gleam as I go out into my Serena. Here I can just U-turn or Rapid Spin. I'm going to choose the Rapid Spin. I don't want to deal with the spikes all game. And now I can U-turn out. Or Synthesis. I need the Synthesis first, so I'm going to synthesize up once and then U-turn out, seeing what my opponent wants to do here. He's, actually I just hard switch out, so that's not a bad play either. My opponent gets another layer of spikes up, so he continues to have 1 layer of spike up, and hard switches his Kabutops in on my Bronzong. It takes quite a bit from Flash Cannon, as I'm able to throw off a Toxic here, predicting him to set up. But he actually reveals, I think, Leftovers, and just Rapid Spins my rocks away. I'm going to hard switch out into Serena here, predicting his own rocks. And now he's got a layer of spikes up and a layer of rocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hard switch into my Garchomp. So I'll pull a double out here, predicting his Blacephalon to come out as a Ghost type to block my Rapid Spin. He doesn't do that though. He chooses to go out into his Excadrill, which is a mighty weird play in my opinion. So let me talk about this play here. Had I Rapid Spun there, I'm in a fantastic position. Fantastic, just simply fantastic position here if I rapid spin. He would have no chip damage on anything for the rest of the match until he gets his spikes and rocks back up, which it isn't easy for him to get his rocks and spikes up. And I would have, first of all, I would have gotten a little chip on this extra drill, which would have broken a potential sash or anything like that. But so the Blacephalon didn't come in. However, if it did come in to block the rapid spin from Serena, then I would have been able to double out into my Garchomp here, and I would have been able to fire off a pretty powerful Earthquake, and I would have been in a solid position. However, my opponent chooses to go out to the extra drill, not minding if I rapid spin the rocks and spikes away. I'm going to set up my own rocks here, make my opponent rapid spin as well, as he goes for the what seems to be a Choice Scarf hair Mega Horn, and we both do quite a bit to each other. And I'm going to hard switch out into my Tapu Koko here, knowing that I'm Choice Scarf and I can outspeed him and knock him out with the Dazzling Gleam here. So now my opponent brings in the Kabutops, and I'm thinking that he's going to click the Aqua Jet to knock me out. And bar like a Max Spadef Kabutops, I will knock him out here with the Dazzling Gleam. So I'm just going to go for it here, and he reveals to be very Spadef, very Spadef here, and he's going to be able to get his rapid spin off as he survives my Dazzling Gleam. Goes for the Aqua Jet, as he's not able to chip me off, but I am able to get the Dazzling Gleam knockout there, and Tapu Koko picking up another knockout on the season. And here I'm going to go into my Mandibuzz, and I'm going to decide to click the taunt here, predicting the Klefki to come in, as my opponent is not actually locked into Shadow Ball. He goes for the Overheat, revealing to be Flame Plate right after the Shadow Ball here, and does a maximum 49.9%, not a maximum, but he does a very high 49.9%. And I did a calc here, and my calc said that my opponent with another Overheat would be doing 24.4% maximum, and I'm setting at 24.4% maximum, I do believe. I'll double check that. I think I'm right though. Anyways, so I can switch out here and save this thing as sack fodder for later in the match, or I could just let it drop here, risk the Overheat miss as well as a low roll. If he misses and I roost, then I'm in a solid position. I can click taunt again, I can click U-turn, more than likely would click taunt again, predicting the Klefki to come out. Or if he gets a low roll, then I'll be in just the same situation with just a little, I mean, I'm telling you, a sliver less health right there. But yeah, so it all depends on if we live this, and I think I may have calced wrong, and yeah, we got dropped there, and I think the Confusion and Aki VGC both said that that was a guaranteed kill, but so my calc must have been wrong, or I was calcing wrong, or I might have got the special attack dropped too low or something like that. So here I'm going to find out that I'm Hyperspace Hole. I sub up as he switches out into the Hippo. After he revealed he wasn't Scarfed, I tried to bluff the Scarf of my own, and I'm going to switch it up from the Hyperspace Hole into the Zen Headbutt here, as he goes out into the Blacephalon, and it just drops. Straight up drops. He brings in the extra drill, and he's using the Sandstorm to be faster than me, and I'm going to go into Serena here to Rapid Spin. However, my opponent reveals the Corkscrew Crash and knocks us out. I should have scouted for that. I made a really bad play there by not scouting, and yeah, I'm not going to be able to get the rocks or the spike gone, and I'm going to have to deal with those with Coco. I think Coco just drops to hazards later. Right here, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sack Coco off to the hazards, and now I can bring in my Mega Garchomp, and it's all up to you, buddy, if you can maybe knock this thing out here. Ooh, nice and close. Just going to click Earthquake again, knock out the Klefki. Differential's really low at the, at the worst. We're going to be able to do a nice chunk here with Sand Force boosting our earthquake damage. We're going to be able to live the crunch and knock out the hippo. And now it's 2v1. If we can just knock out this Excadrill. He goes for the Sand Rush boosting speed. Gets the Iron Head knockout. Reveals the Shadow Claw, which is going to be doing way more than our Shadow Ball. And it should be a 2-hit KO, and it is, despite the crit, I think there's a 2-hit KO anyway, and that's going to be good game to the Confusion. So nice 36 turn battle there. Really sad I didn't scout for the Z move. I think I could have gotten rid of, I could have, switched Bronzong in on the Z move and then come back into Serena later in the match and Rapid Spun. I would have had a lot more health on Garchomp. I would, Tapu Koko wouldn't have been sacked and could have potentially pressured Hippo and Excadrill a little bit more, and maybe it could have swung in my favor. But yeah, we're gonna lose a narrow 1-0 loss to the Confusion here. Not disappointed at all. This was a fantastic battle. I am a little bit mad I didn't scout for our Z move on Excadrill. After seeing leftovers on Kabutops and no life orb or anything like that on Excadrill. Excuse me. I should have 100% scouted for the Z move, but I didn't. But yeah, it's going to be a good game to the Confusion, and he's going to be moving on to 8-2, and we're going to fall to 7-3. So we're going to be looking to finish out the season 8-3 next week in week 11. Good luck to David, aka the Confusion, and the Miami Heatwaves for their rest of the season. And looking forward to a potential playoff rematch. So that being said, we do need to win out for a potential bye. We need a lot of other things to happen as well, but it's possible. We are clinching. We've clinched playoffs already, so we're guaranteed a playoff position. I think 5 coaches have clinched playoffs, and the 6th spot is up for grabs right now. So that's pretty dope. And yes, going to be looking forward to our next week match against Jack O, coach of the Sutopolis Swampers. So look out for that. Let me know what you thought about the battle, the prep here on both sides of the battle. What was play of the game and what was MVP, most valuable Pokemon this match. Let me know your thoughts on the battle in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I thank you for watching.